What's up, everybody? It's your favorite country kid, BDOLLA from the G, and I'm here. You are here. We back here together for another video. So listen, make sure you go ahead and follow me on the gram at b.brian_. Make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe on this video because there's more content coming and you want to watch it. Period. So yes, y'all see the title of the video. The title of the video is the title of the video. And I wanted to bring to you guys something that has been pretty impactful in my life. Before I even press record, I was just like, oh my gosh, should I do this? Should I do this? But I really do feel like this video could potentially help people out there that may be going through the same thing as myself or something similar. So yeah, but before we even get into the video, I just want to say as like a precursor, like this is a positive vibes only type of video. So please refrain from any negative comments or any negativity. This is literally just me sharing my story and trying to put myself in a place to help other people. If you feel the need to continue this conversation, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and we could definitely go from there. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of put that out there that this is literally just me sharing my story. No ulterior motives, like this is literally just me sharing my story. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into this video. Alright, so we're just gonna go right into it. So pretty much the basis of where this video came from is one day I was watching Iyanla Fix My Life Out of All Things, and I got reminded of a memory. And I realized that the basis of where the memory came from was pretty much the place in which I came into a real deep dark depression for 2 years and did not know. So just to start off, I became sexually active at the age of 17. And at the time, I had a group of friends that we would always talk pretty much on a daily basis on Skype. And we would always kind of just talk about random stuff, but we would end up always talking about my friends' sexual encounters. And the basis of those, I guess, encounters or those conversations weren't necessarily like, oh, we're coming on to talk about sex and talking about sexual encounter, but it was always lead that way. And at this point, I felt like I was just kind of this church kid that didn't really do too much. So I became really intrigued by the different stories that they were telling and the different encounters that they were experiencing. So eventually, I became sexually active, and the second time that I actually had a sexual encounter was with an older man. And at this point in time, I was, I told him, at this time I told him, I was like, definitely want to use protection, okay, cool. So, he was making excuses before he even got there, but I'm just like, but he never said, oh, he wasn't going to use. So I'm like, okay, cool, like, I got one, don't worry about it, So, pretty much, he gets there, and I pull out the condom that I had, and I remember him like looking at me with this look of like I'm not using that kind of thing. And I remember him taking the condom out of my hand and putting it on the counter. And being that had already snuck him into my house, one of my family members was already there. It's the middle of the day. I felt like I had no other choice but to go through with it. So I did, and right, like a couple of days after, or not even a couple of days, like really like the next day, I kind of started to feel all these kind of body things that I couldn't really explain, but it wasn't what my body was before, if that makes any sense. So I kind of was like, okay, whatever, maybe it's just one of those things. And slowly but surely, my body started to keep doing and keep presenting different, what I believe to be symptoms. But I made the mistake of going on Google out of all places and finding some random, I don't know what it was, but long story short, I believed that I had HIV, or I constructed in my head, in my brain, that I had HIV. And mind you, I'm 17 years old, so I'm just like, who am I gonna tell? Like, Like, so that's kind of just how I was felt internally. Um, and um, so the traumatic memory that I remembered from the Iyanla episode was I went to the doctor's office with my mom. And mind you, I'm still having what I'm believing to be symptoms and everything. And I think they may have been symptoms. I'm still not sure, but I do know that I was already very fearful of ever bringing it up, talking to someone about it, whatever, because I just felt like I didn't have anyone. My doctor's checking all the vitals and stuff, checking temperature and everything, and then she gets the blood pressure. And when I tell you, I could still remember like hearing my heart be like, have your heart ever beat so fast? And it just like do 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 do. And she was checking my blood pressure, and she looked at me. She was like, "Are you okay? Like your heart is racing. Like what is going on?" And I'm just like, "Oh, like I'm okay." And my mom's sitting right there, and I'm just no, I'm good. And they was thinking that I'm nervous because I'm gonna get a shot or something. And whole time I'm just nervous that they gonna find something like yeah, I was so I didn't know what was going on, but I just felt like they were gonna find something, and I was just like I was scared that they were going to it was just going to be brought out right then and there, like everything all at one time. And just kind of give you a backstory. My mom has experience in social work, and she actually worked at a health clinic at one point in time. So um, I've always would hear little different things like, oh, my kids know better and things of that sort. And kind of having those kind of memories kind of replaying in my head, I kind of just felt like I can tell her this, and although it may not be true, and I could tell my mom anything, it just kind of put me in a place where I'm just like, I don't really want to talk about this. So um, get past that, and just at this time in general, it was like a really crazy time. So I was 17 years old. My older sister had got locked up and went to prison. So then we had me and my family had to take in my niece and my nephew. And my dog had died. And at the time, me and my sister right above me, so I have two older sisters, and the sister right above me, we're super close now, but at that time we didn't talk a whole lot. So I just felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about anything, and kind of just felt like my life kind of took a big 180, and I went from being the youngest to being a big brother in less than 24 hours. And it was a challenge, it was a journey, but it was like at the time there was a whole lot of stuff going on. And at the time I didn't really have an outlet, and I didn't know it at the time, but sex became my outlet. So still having these thoughts and like, oh my god, I have something, but feeling like I can't tell anybody. I'm still being sexually promiscuous, and I'm a lot a lot of sex, and sex kind of just became this place of relief for me. Although temporary, it just became a place of relief for me. Mind you, I'm still leading worship at my church. And I wasn't the main worship leader, but I was kind of the unofficial second in command kind of worship leader. So whenever the main lead worship leader didn't couldn't, or didn't want to lead that day or whatever, she would call me up, and I'm still having to present myself like, oh, everything is good, God is great, all these things, which he is. But internally, right below that smile was a trembling fear of like, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die any second. I don't have the guts or the courage to do it myself. So it became a thing where I'm like, so God, you playing with me. I need you to go ahead and do this, because I'm obviously gonna die. And it, like, hello, like I remember just being so frustrated. And I literally lived in fear every day. And for the first year, after that encounter, which was March 6th, 2016, that's why I'm making this video today, I lived in fear. and it was just a scary place to be. And I just remember feeling so alone and so it was a lot, because not only am I dealing with being 17 and feeling like I couldn't tell anybody because I was a minor, but having the years of religion that pretty much um, aided to all of the hate speech that I had in my head, but feeling like God still loved me, but I didn't understand how He could, and I just felt like this was my essentially my punishment. Essentially, I felt as though that this was kind of like you shouldn't have been out here sneaking, so here is, the consequence. Um, so up until this point, I felt like couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't think that I would make it to my 18th birthday. Didn't think that I would graduate. Didn't think I would go to college, let alone make it to my 21st birthday. And I remember my close friend at my 21st birthday little gathering or whatever. She looked at me and everybody was kind of just, it was music, food. It was really a great time. But one of my friends that I call my sister, she was like, "You do know that this is for you, right?" And it was like, yeah. It was just weird because it was just like, I didn't think that I would make it to 21. So the fact that I made it to 21 and I was like there, it felt like I shouldn't have been in a very weird way. So I'm having all these people celebrate me, like happy birthday, da da da, I love you so much, and all pretty much explaining how my presence in their life, what it means to them, and I'm just like, thank you, I hear you, but like I don't hear you. Like it was very strange, and it was a whole year before I even said anything to anybody. And I think senior year or something. I was talking to one of my close friends, and I'm like, hey, like I think I have HIV, da da da. And I just remember being so ashamed and so scared, like, oh my god, like, and he was just like, okay, and he was just like, oh, I'm sure you're fine, da da da, like, you're okay, but da da da. The whole time I was so scared to try to get tested or do anything, so I'm still living in fear every day, even after I had told them. So fast forward 2017, I graduate and I go off to Chicago, and still being very sexually active. Like, I mean, yes, very, very, very sexually active. Let's just say that. And sex, just reckless sex, was just a thing for me. And the sad part about it is I didn't care. Like, I didn't care if it was protected or if it was not. I just knew that I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted that certain level of release, so I did just that. And even coming to Chicago, I was introduced to the church that I go to currently, and I began to understand that I had a certain level of resentment towards God, because I was singing from such a resentful place that it was just like, it felt like every time I sang, you know, people would be, crying, and, the presence of God would come into the room and all these things. But it felt like the gift that everybody else was benefiting off of, I wasn't getting anything, and it just felt like, why am I doing this? Like, I remember telling my mom, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I really don't. And she would push me and be like, no, like, you need to keep going, da da da. And I'm thankful for that. But after coming to Chicago, I realized that I was resentful, and I did felt like God didn't like me. Like, although you hear for years and years and years that God is love and God loves everybody, all this stuff, all of the religious dogma and everything that I've learned over the years, and even early on when I grew up in South Carolina, like, it was just a whole lot of stuff that was acquired over time, and it allowed me to hate myself before I even understood who I was, and kind of having all of the church community, but like the outside world kind of just telling me who I was. I didn't know who I was, and to having people tell you who you are before you even have the chance to explore it can be a very confusing place, because it's just like, you're telling me this thing, but internally I'm feeling like this, but over here they're saying that I'm that. So it's just like, but even in church they see something that I don't see, so I'm just like, what? So I'm just like, well, maybe I am, gay or whatever. It just at that age of like 4, 5, 6, 7, like, it's just like, what? Like, it just don't make any sense to me. So I get to Chicago, and it was crazy because so I really feel like it was me being in Chicago allowed me to experience God like I've never have, and it really allowed me to be introduced to the person of Jesus Christ. And if you're not a believer, it's okay, but this is just my experience, and I literally felt like the more and more that I started to get closer to God, the freer and freer I began to feel. But I became so accustomed to this very dark, numb place, that having to actually live became weird, became like strange to me. So I was praying, and I continued, I got into prayer and all this stuff. And this one in particular day, I was praying, and I was kind of just like laying, and I had like my little music on in the background. I was just laying, and all of a sudden I heard God tell me, you're gonna live to see your grandkids. And up until this point, like, I believe that I wasn't going to, I had no desire to get married, have kids, anything of that sort, because I felt as though that I had HIV, so I didn't want to give it to anybody. I didn't want to bring kids into this world, and them kind of having this thing that I gave them, and all of the stuff that they like, them potentially being mad and upset with me and all this stuff, not realizing that there's medical stuff that can be done. But that's just like where I was. So hearing God tell me this, I'm like, okay, so I was like, all right. So I'm just like, I just started to cry, because I'm just like, whoa, this is nothing that I've ever expected for me. And then, amongst a whole lot of other stuff, God ends up telling me, go get tested. And the amount of fear that set in, I was like, oh my God, like, what? How am I going to do this? So this was, what I'm getting ready to say, I think, was in a 2-week time span. So I hear that in prayer. That following Sunday, I get prayed over by one of my brothers. Love him to death, but I didn't really know him at the time, but he's like a real close brother. And he literally begins to pray, and one of the things that he ends up praying for was, and kind of saying over me, was that I was going to have kids. And literally the very first that I heard in prayer, it broke me, and I'm on the floor, just rolling around in some more stuff. So that following Sunday, I had prayed over. Then that week, I found a way to go get tested, so I did. And I just remember being in the office and feeling so just like, oh my God, this is it, like, and up until this point, only 2 people in Chicago knew. Like, I still hadn't told, like, up until that point, which was 2018, I believe, only 3 people knew. The friend that I told when I was still in California, and my 2 closest friends at the time, in Chicago. So get to the office, terrified. And long story short, go in. It feels like the longest thing of my life. Going to the waiting room, they call me back. They, pretty much explain to me everything that's getting ready to happen. They draw my blood. I have to sit and wait for like 10, 15 minutes. And then he brings me back, and he's like, pretty much explaining me how the test works and the results and everything. And he looks down, and he's like, so your results came back negative. And I'm just like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And he was like, your test results came back negative for HIV. Like, you're good. Um, and I'm like, that's my test. And he's like, yes. I'm like, you didn't move it? He's like, no, this is the room that you were just in. And I'm just like, and I remember just going like this, like, and I just remember feeling so relieved but confused at the same time, because it was just like, you're lying. Like, I have this thing, like, I'm dying. Like, what do you mean? Um, and he gives me, um, I'm sorry, y'all. He gives me this card, and pretty much it's a card to another facility that allows me to get fully screened. And I'm like, okay. So, I go the following week and end up coming back positive for 2 STDs. Got those things. Got a shot, got a pill and everything, and I'm good. And thank God it was, curable. But then the following week, I received the word of the Lord over my life from my pastor. And one of the things that one of the first things that he said was, I see a diagnosis, and to you it feels like a death decree. And that right there just broke me. And belongs it pretty much within what he was telling me. He was saying that I've tried to not live as happy or fulfilled as I should in the event that I didn't make it. And it was at that moment, and mind you, he's doing this in front of the whole church, so I'm just like, oh my God. And at this moment, it was just like, God, like, you see me, like, and I don't know if like, it's one thing to know it, but I think I became like resolved in the fact that he does see me. Because for so long I didn't feel seen. For so long, I didn't feel heard, and it's just, a lot of stuff. I hope I'm not rambling. But when it comes to, you know, church, religion, all this stuff, I think one of the things that can happen, is that, because why? Oh. One of the things that the church has taught me from a very young age is to hate myself, um, because for so long I felt as though I was being identified by my attractions to men, um, and kind of finding that balance between that and Christianity and my relationship with Jesus. It's always been like this very murky kind of thing. I just feel like, as of now, I feel the most comfortable with not identifying my sexuality, because I feel as though that, um, for so long I've been having almost like two worlds tell me who I am. And when I was younger, I felt the need to adjust myself in different environments according to what people believed that I should be. And I think at the core of all of that, I was trying to adjust and trying to adjust myself, um, to be able to appease people. And I think, not even I think, I believe that sexuality is way more broader than the boxes that society puts it in. And I think that sometimes we could be so focused on labels, that we don't ever get to meet the real person. And it's still, a daily journey. It's still, a thing of like, what is going on? But I I'm okay with not necessarily knowing everything right now. Um, and I think that's another thing that a lot of people kind of go through is feeling like they have to have all of the answers right now. And that's definitely something that is still a struggle for me. But it's definitely a okay place to be. I just want to tell people, yeah, I have attractions to both men and women. I just choose not to identify it or label it because I just feel like there is it's not a big deal. It's really not, because I'm gonna be me regardless. So, you know, but whether or not you're a Christian, know your status, y'all. Like, we're in the 21st century. Medicine is so advanced. We don't have to live in secrecy. We don't have to live in fear and shame. Know your status, y'all. Especially if you're out here, you know, busting down or busting it wide open. Like, just know your status. And be get the help, get the medical, you know, attention, whatever that you need. Just to be able to know and be like, and be not have to construct these ideals or these things in your head to make you feel like you're at a place that you're not. Simply put. For those that feel like they have nobody, or they feel like, or if you've been in the same position as me, and felt like, based on what religion has taught you, or you know, the things that you learned and all this stuff, and you feel like you can't talk to anybody for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to be a religious thing at all, but I'm just saying, if you feel like you're alone or nobody hears you, nobody sees you, like, definitely reach out to somebody. Like, reach out to somebody, please, y'all, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to myself internally and construct these ideals and all these hate speech and all of this stuff to really make me feel like, you know, I was gonna die, and I became okay with it. And I think when that day that I started to write out, I remember the traumatic experience at the doctor's office, I realized how far I've come, because I became so used to, oh, you know, I might as well kind of do it because, you know, I'm not going to be here for much longer, or just, y'all, it's so many things I've told myself in the past, but you definitely have people out there who care for you. You definitely have people out there who value your voice. So find those people, even if it's you having to call, you know, a hotline or something. Like, talk to somebody, please, because I can't tell you how almost every time I tell this story, I become freer and freer. Not even the story, but even just how my mind worked. Like, being able to express those feelings, express those emotions, became very big for me. So yeah, you guys, that's pretty much the story. I hope that I was able to help somebody who may have been in similar situations as me, or you know, not, whatever. And if you skip through the video, it's okay. If you made it through the video, congratulations. But I just wanted to put this video out because today is March 6th, and this is the anniversary of me kind of entering into a depression for 2 years and not knowing it, because it just became a commonplace, and it was a place that I felt like I deserved to be in. So yes, like I said, feel free to leave your comments down below. And if you have similar conversations, similar experiences as myself, please feel free to share, or just DM me, or, you know, let's connect and let's talk. But I definitely think that there is a place for the same-sex attracted person in Christianity, and that's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But there is. So, but even in that, it's not a big deal. To me, hey, you may have your various views, but we can definitely talk those through. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching, and make sure you are on the lookout for my upcoming videos. I have some videos coming up, but yeah, I'll thank y'all for watching. And until next time, I will see you later.